Alright guys, so I've been hoarding my crafting materials as well, so I think it's just about that time though that I go all in. Let's see what we can get. I've never gotten a Swift Parry set, a couple deflection pieces here and there. Resilience, I don't think it's that good. Perception, I needed a couple pieces for the Doom Tower, but now that we're done with the first round of the Doom Tower, I have even more crafting materials just sitting there, and I figure might as well just see what we can get. Not to mention, how much silver are we going to generate from all this? Let's jump right in. Alright, so before I get started, let me quickly mention that I will be streaming tonight. I know I said I would be moving to a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday schedule, but I actually have a couple more viewer shards to open tonight on stream, and I might even have more giveaways for you guys, so do join the fun at 7:30 Eastern Time. Now, on to the crafting, the reality of doing all of this in one shot. As you can see, I kind of literally tried to do everything that I could. I use basically all the charms, rank, rarity, almost all the different ones for the types, and substat charms, almost all of them as well. Now you'll notice that obviously I generated a lot of silver, and I used only about half of the Magisteel between this session today and the previous one I did about a couple days ago. So I'll say in total I spent close to 3 hours just crafting gear. Now, let me make a point towards this. If you're going to do something similar, you better pay attention. If you want this to go fast, remember, you're doing a whole lot of pieces back and forth, non-stop. So you got to be pretty quick knowing what's good, what isn't, what you're going to keep, and what you're actually going to try and work on to see if it's useful. So what I realized after doing this is that this is not a one-day project. This is going to take a little bit more time for me to go through all of these pieces when I'm done. But here's the rundown of what I crafted so far. It was about 850 pieces total that I crafted on the account to generate, I'm going to say roughly 18 million between this session and the previous one. That used about 6,000 Magisteel. I know it looked like I started with about 4,000 or almost 5,000, but the thing is, with the previous session, I kept using a little bit because you top out at 10,000. So if you don't craft, you're going to end up with more Magisteel than you know what to do with, and if you don't use it, then you're wasting some. But as you can see, you end up with a whole lot of extra, right? So the Magisteel is not the problem. The problem is, in this case, core hammers between Swift Parry and deflection. For the resilience, the problem is the epic mats, right? Same thing, perception, resilience, both of them, right? You have a lot of the legendary ones, but not enough of the epic ones, so I hope that they fix this in the future, or else we're going to be sitting with basically all this useless stuff that we cannot use. So the silver was good, but don't forget that it costs some silver to craft, and now I'm also going to spend some silver upgrading some of this gear to see if it is good. So is this a clean 18 million in my account? It's not, right? It's obviously going to be a little bit less. Still, if you want to generate a lot of silver on a short period of time, this is actually a decent way to do it. Is it the best way? It depends, right? If you end up not using the pieces, sure. But if you are early in your account and you keep a lot of these pieces and you work on them, it might actually be not that great. But because I'm a little bit more end game, my initial screening of these pieces were sort of like, if it's not legendary, 6-star, if it doesn't have like 3 substat rolls that are percentage, or that doesn't have accuracy or resistance, chances are I did not keep it. Or for example, the deflection set, where I was just trying to get some kind of set going to do some testing, so I ended up keeping more than probably what I'm going to use, right? So I'll get back to the useful part in a separate video. For now, I kind of want to just quickly go over what I kept. So I'm going to run the tally for you guys, and then we're going to see out of these 850 pieces, just how many exactly did I end up keeping. And here we are with the tally, and yeah, I totally switched sides. That's because I want to show you a couple of things inside the game, and my camera would be covering it, right? So I kept 20%, only 20% of these pieces so far. Again, remember, this is not the useful pieces that I will be working with. I have a lot more work to do to go over all of them, depending on which set they are a part of, rank them up a little bit, and then to see if I'm actually going to keep it and use it. So here's what I did to quickly screen the pieces at first. On a set like Swift Parry, where you're using really hard to get core hammers, I was just trying to get even just one good set, right? So I kept anything that was sort of like legendary 6 stars that had good substat rolls in terms of percentages. For example, if let's say this piece rolls 4 times on crit damage, highly unlikely, but then you have another set that rolls 4 times on crit rate, then that can perhaps make a good set anyway. Even though this one by itself does not have speed and crit rate, maybe, just maybe, I can get lucky and get a good working set going, all right? So at first glance, you kind of see I kept the legendary pieces, mainly 6-star as much as possible. Epic, like this helm here is not that great, but I wanted to have at least one helm to work with in case I'm really desperate and this is all I have. I kept, for example, this one. It's rare. I tend to not keep rare pieces on my account anymore, being this late into the game, but it does have crit rate, so it might come in play. Only one shield, unfortunately, that was even worth for me to keep, and then we have a couple pieces, but sadly, the only crit damage that I got has attack percent and HP percent. This is not good. I would probably not even work on this, but when I've kind of like clean this up for the second time and I rank these up a little bit, then I'll see if I can get something working, right? Deflection was the same thing. I did not craft more pieces today. This was done on the previous session. I just wanted one set going to test on a Pixnial, and the rest of the pieces of these pieces, sorry, I'm probably going to get rid of. Then for the resilience pieces, right? Quite a lot. I decided to keep a little bit more, but this is also because as you're doing 370, I can't keep track of all the weapons I've gotten, all the helms I've gotten, all the shields I've gotten. So I don't know if I have a working set in the back of my mind. If you do like 25 pieces, you have a good idea. But instead here, what I did, kind of the same thing. I went with, do we have enough substat rolls that are percentage base? Do I have, for example, speed and crit rate? Yes, speed and crit damage. Maybe I can work with that. Here we had some speed, but it's legendary. So again, this is going to get cleaned up quite a bit. So what do I think I'm going to have out of all this? 2 working sets, maybe 3 working sets, or perhaps some good broken pieces like this right here, which can be pretty useful on other champions just by itself. Let's keep going. Perception pieces here. Sorry, I have a couple more than what I've crafted before. Again, I'm going to have to somewhat clean this up, but speed and crit rate is always something that I try to hang on to, speed and crit rate, but this one obviously has better rolls right off the bat. So when I roll these up, most likely going to get rid of one of them. Let's move on to the affinity breaker. I crafted very few pieces. I hope to get at least even one working set. Sadly, I did not even get that, right? So these pieces by themselves, not that great. Most likely will dump pretty much all of them, but I will be cautious to keep perhaps one of each until I get a working set, just for testing purposes, or to see if it's even worth it, right? But the one that I did really focus on for this Doom Tower run, or this rounds basically, is the Untouchable. I really wanted to get hopefully a good working set, so here as well I tried to keep anything that was legendary that had decent substat rolls, like speed, resistance, and accuracy for the Doom Tower can surprisingly be very useful. So I paid attention to that as well. Here we only had speed, for example. This one, speed and accuracy, might be useful. I tried to keep also one piece of each of the artifact slots, and that's a tip for you guys. I started with weapon, helm, and shield first. For each of the sets that I was trying to get a working set, I went with those because they have a fixed main stat. So I feel it's a little bit easier to get something that's useful. And when you start going for the gloves, chest pieces, and boots, chances are you're not necessarily going to get the right main stat you are looking for. So I'd rather work with 3 easier pieces and then hopefully get one more useful out of, let's say, either the gloves, the boots, or the chest piece. Fatal, only kept 2 pieces. They're not that great, most likely not going to use them. Same thing with the Frostbite here. This weapon is actually very interesting, could be useful by itself, and then the shield is also okay-ish, but no speed. Who knows, am I really going to use this? All right, so back to the spreadsheet here, guys. Again, I will come back to what is actually useful out of all this. And so the reality of crafting everything, or in this short crafting guide for you guys, is that it took a lot of time. You got to be pretty on point if you want to screen rapidly. You can generate some silver. Depending on what you decide to upgrade, though, you might actually not have this, this much. And the Magisteel is not the problem. The epic material is the main concern for basically all the sets. So again, hopefully they fix that in the near future. All that being said, let me know what you think in comments below. Have you guys gotten any very useful set out of all this crafting so far? As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.